Vani, Vani Subramanian. I'm from Delhi. I've been living and working there for quite a while now. So the film I've made is on the question of the death penalty, on whether we should have it, how effective is it, looking at a couple of cases, reviewing how this justice system works, and do we think this is really an answer to the question of crime and injustice in society. So I've been wanting to work on it a while, because actually while the film is set entirely in India and looking at cases that are based in India, I think this question is fairly universal, because many countries are struggling to keep it on the books, get it off the books, implement it, not implement it. In the US itself, you have several states that have it, many that don't. So there's a lot of tension between this question of whether capital punishment is right or wrong, ethically, morally, and whether it is productive, whether it is useful. So that's the question the film is trying to explore. So I've been wanting to make it particularly since about 2012, when there was a spate of executions in India, and then there was the December 2012 rape and murder of the young woman, which then caused a huge hype in the demand for death penalty for rape. And that's sort of the tipping point for me. I've been vaguely wanting to do this for a long time. And because I think the question is complicated, the question is not easy, but yet people have very simple and very strong positions. So my attempt is to think of is there a possibility to make something which looks at this more rationally and opens up a conversation on whether it's right or wrong. And in India, we have something called the Public Service Broadcasting Trust. It is an autonomous body under the government, but it's fairly autonomous. And I have made fairly political films with them over the years, on communalism, on selective abortions, on lots of, on political and social, political issues of social concerns. So I actually went to them with a proposal, and that's a fairly open, they do an open call for proposals, and it's a very transparent process. And that is what I love about it. I feel that everyone has an equal chance. You don't have to have made films with them before, you don't have to be eminent, you can be absolutely new. The only downside is that the budget is really low. And they have their reasons, and I think it's up to us to accept it or not. For me, I felt that, okay, it's got a low budget, which my film is not. I knew it was going to involve a fair amount of money, but the way I saw it, it would get me started putting this really on the ground. It's one thing to keep saying I want to do it, and I would worry about the money later. Because there is no other way to do this. You want to do documentary, you want to do stuff that no other channel, however rich, will fund. Nobody funds. Private channels don't fund documentary, and this gives you a chance to get onto all the state channels, and I think that is very important, to reach a very wide and diverse audience. Production, again, it's like if I'm doing it for the love of doing it, and for the fact that I think it's a terribly important subject. I've been extremely fortunate, especially this time, I would say, in getting my senior partners on the film, cinematographer, sound designer, working for virtually nothing. Just because they felt it needs to be done. And I think that's gone a long way in just de-stressing me about being able to do this film, yet pay people who really need to be paid, which is assistants, younger researchers. I mean, that's the level of people who got paid reasonably, I wouldn't say very well, but reasonably, while the rest of us just cut off our allowances and said, okay, let's put it into the film. And because everybody's trying to strike a balance between doing political work that is not funded and funded work that is not necessarily politically or personally satisfying, or maybe satisfying in a different way, So yeah, I got really lucky that it's not just me who's invested in the film. I think a lot of people have put heart and soul into it. And so then my worry becomes, do I do justice to all this love and support that I get? See, with this film, I am looking to actually take this around because it's a slightly difficult subject. I think it's going to take a little bit work to put it on the roll. It's already done a bunch of screenings in India. Law students, open, research institutes which have opened up, couple of festivals, couple of more private screenings with young lawyers, etc. So I'm trying to reach a varied kind of audience. And we have plans from January on, once the college semester opens up again, to actually take this and move a bit with it. Because I want to put it into a range of different audiences. There are human rights folks who do work on the issue. There are democratic rights, civil rights issues, groups that do work on the issue. There are students, there are, all kind. There are women's groups, and there are other people who work on issues of gender who are not necessarily, don't necessarily have a deeper political perspective on the death penalty. There are child rights groups. I mean, these are also all the people who sort of informed my work. If you look at the list of acknowledgements, it's terribly, terribly long. But it's because you can't do a film like this if you don't tap into a range of experience. From people working with juveniles and young children to people working on prison rights to everyone else in between. So I'm hoping to take this out. I want to take this out to different audiences and, so this holiday season will be the only time off after tonight's screening. And then I'm hoping to travel with it.